Hello, 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 and welcome to another edition of the Big Freaking Friday Show on the College Football Mafia Network. I'm your host, Nathan Bomber Brown, and with me are my co-hosts and partners in this entire endeavor. That would be the Wild Ute and Moen. How are we doing tonight, guys?
Hello, how you guys doing? Happy freaking Friday.
Yeah, it's a Good Friday.
It
Good
is.
Friday
It
to
is
talk
good.
college football.
It's not Good Friday, but it is a Good
A
Friday.
good
That's
Friday.
true. Yes.
Now, all Fridays are
Uh,
good.
we should have some fun tonight. We're going to be really keying on this whole story that came out this week. If it was really even a story, I kind of look at it like we already sort of knew this, but that UNC is going to start using leverage to possibly leave the conference, go somewhere else. How much of their messaging is just for show and tell, and how much of it has content. So we're going to be talking about that tonight. What happens to the ACC conference? We will cover, and then last but not least, what happens with the SEC and the Big Ten? Who do they pick of the schools that might be on the chopping block, and how many can they move over? And when. Timing will be the last thing we talk about. So appreciate everybody being here tonight. I hope everybody's doing well. It's going to be a fun evening, and ask you guys to sit down, take a break, and listen to us for an hour or two. Should be a lot of fun. All right, before we do anything else, you give us a little headline of how your week went and kind of some of the stuff you're tracking in the news.
Absolutely. This was a fantastic week full of news. The UNC information came out, and these just tidbits like showing, hey, we're trying to look in house, look at ourselves, and see where the best place for this university is to go. Like we've talked about before, UNC is not long for the ACC, guys. UNC and the SEC are tagged to each other. It's almost a lock. The Big Ten still wants to get in on that, but it looks like UNC is going to be jumping, guys, over the next 18 months. We've been saying that for a long time. Pretty sold on that. I can't wait to get into this discussion. We're actually going to do a tier list, guys. In my mind, there are 10 schools that even have any type of even mention to get at the into the SEC, including UNC. We're going to go through that tonight, have a deep discussion on really the different tiers of candidates. There's 10 schools that we're going to rank out here. So that's going on tonight. It's going to be sweet.
Moen, how about you this week, and how's everything going?
It's been going fine. Good week. Got a lot of good feedback on my blueprint to fix college football.
Good.
If you missed that show, go back and watch it. Samoan After Dark from this past Wednesday. And I fixed college football. It's pretty amazing. I don't like to pat myself on the back, but I'm patting myself on the back for that one. I completely fixed college football. Everybody agreed with me. It was 100% perfect.
Everybody agreed with you. I love that. All right, that's great.
You have some good ideas, Moan.
Yeah, hey,
Fantastic ideas.
I,
Better than
I
now?
I love ideas. I love ideas. I think this is the time to be doing those things, and we should be proposing new things. Like I love my Super League thing. I know Moen has his way to fix college football. You, over the last 2-3 years, you've come up with all kinds of ideas on maybe how to fix college football, if you want to put it that way. I know one of them would be to eliminate completely NIL, get money out of the game.
I just pay for playing inducements.
That
NIL's fine.
right, okay. Anyways, so that sounds good. I'm glad you guys had a good week, and it sounds like we got plenty of stuff to talk about this evening. Let's start off by doing shout outs right off the bat, and see if we can get a few of them in before we actually jump into the meaty articles that might pop up in the news in the last couple days. Ryan Willie is first in the house. Ryan Willie,
Hey.
valuable member of the College Football Mafia family. Good to see you, Ryan. We need to start coming up with awards for people for being first, Mo, and maybe we play them a song or something.
Winner.
Well, you got to remember, Big Lubbock is always first due to the space-time shift. So,
yes. Yeah. Okay. I get that. Stormy Cyclone, another valuable member of the College Football Mafia family. He's saying second place here ain't bad. Nope, not bad at all.
That's right.
Great.
The Big Lubbock, yeah. First, I am always first. It's good to have you here, Lubbock. That's fantastic. I appreciate it. Let's see here. I got a we're starting a new process on the back end. I'm trying to. Mo and I are working on it, trying to make it work. Laura Weiss saying, "Hey y'all, good to see you." Laura is not an admin. What do you call him? A moderator, somebody that helps us in the back end with the comments and questions. If you guys have questions, don't be afraid to ask anybody in the comment section. Don't wait for us to answer it. Most of these people are smarter than we are. They know what time it is and what's going on the show. So feel free to ask them too. Laura Weiss checking in saying, "Hey y'all, good to have you here." Daniel Gygax checking in saying, "Hi everyone, good to see you." Daniel, a contributor in chief. The D5 Terps says he's 8. That somebody that went deep, counting how far he was into the first list. I love it. Bob Swanger checking in, representing Penn State and the mighty Big Ten. Hi everyone, or hey everyone, says Bob. Daniel Gorby, hi, hello Maria team. Very good. That's awesome. Good to see you here. Another. I had that right, Maria, right?
He says hello Maria team. I believe it was Mafia team, but
I like this Maria team.
I like Maria team as well.
Thank you for correcting me. I appreciate that. Joe Z, another valuable member. All these people, members of the College Football Mafia family. Moen, how do people become members of our famous family?
You can become a member, gift a membership, leave a super chat, leave a super sticker. You can do all 4 of those options to help support the College Football Mafia just by clicking the little cash icon at the bottom of the chat window there. And it pretty self-explanatory after that.
Very good. We don't do that enough like we used to do, but it is something that some people might not know. So definitely, it also helps if you're watching on YouTube on your computer. That join button will pop right up for you, and that's how you become a standing member. Joe Z checking in saying UNC Clemson to the SEC, not falling for the Feinbaum smoke. What do you guys think about that? I don't know which story in Feinbaum he's talking about, but do you guys have the specific thing that he's talking about?
Go ahead, Moan. You can opine on that.
Yeah, he mentioned North Carolina and Virginia, I believe, on his afternoon show this past week.
Okay.
So.
All right. Well, yeah, he doesn't move mountains, Paul Feinbaum, but he carries water. I know that. Steele Austin checking in. He's a valuable member of the College Football Mafia family, a fine representative of Ute Nation for the University of Utah. Good evening, College Football Mafia family. Good to have you here. Tempest checking in, saying hello, Bomber, Ute, and Moen.
Hey.
Good to see you, Tempest. Thank you so much for being a member of the College Football Mafia family. All these guys are members. It gives me chills. Stephen Vitt checking in saying, how's everyone doing tonight? Doing okay.
Freaking good.
Yeah, for sure. And what do we got here, Moen?
Well, this is an example of gifting memberships. We've gifted 5 memberships to the College Football Mafia family. Noel Blooded, Rob Devick, Michael Tamez, Dave Chauncey, and Gabe H. Those are all new members of the College Football Mafia family. You can now have access to members-only video, member-only streams, members-only content. You guys will find that new members at our homepage. Just click on members.
I love it. Thank you so much, Moen, for taking care of that. I love getting new membership videos out or memberships to people. That's really important. Doc Gibbs check in, and he heard ACC, and Doc comes in off the top rope. Good to see you, Doc. It's been a minute. We appreciate you coming back, man. Don't know about any undercover UNC SEC agreements, but can say no public UNC plan for realignment has been taken to the UNC Board of Governors for review, vetting, and approve or reject. Without this, UNC, and then it dropped off.
Without this, UNC is going nowhere. I'm sure he's probably trying to say, and he's right. Yeah, that's going to have to be the first step once the offer's made. But like we're talking about the offer here, when the offer's coming, that is secondary there. That UNC is going to have to go in house and stuff and get it done and break off the Wolfpack backpack. So that's part of the process here. We're going to talk about that, the tier list here. NC State is on one of the schools that we will be discussing, how likely they are to get into the SEC.
Moen, you want to add anything on that?
Yeah, we're not in the main context of the show. We're not talking about an agreement between UNC and SEC. It's more about what Chancellor Lee Roberts said and why he said it.
Okay. All right. Great to see you, Doc. Thank you so much for turning up for tonight's show. Tempest says, think we might leave earlier if UNC leaves. That's to Morris Simmons. Yeah, what timing will dictate dominoes and yes, no votes and all those things. We're a little bit away from that right now. Trent Brown, my brother's namesake. Good to have you here,
Hey.
Trent. It's good to see you. On my way to fantasy football draft. Wish me luck. Good luck. Who do you guys pick?
Good luck.
Who do you guys pick?
Luck.
Fantasy football.
Always pick Mahomes. I don't care if he's played bad the last 2 years. You always take Patrick Mahomes and Xavier Worthy.
You take Joe Shiesty. Take Jamar Chase.
Really?
Perfect
a
combo
receiver?
right there. I take a receiver. Well, depends on what kind of league you're playing in.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah,
Depends on
I
what
think
kind of league
Mahomes.
you're playing in.
It's hard to vote against Mahomes. That's true. Morris Simmons, another valuable member of the College Football Mafia family, saying hello, everyone. Go Knowles 2027. Thank you so much, Morris. It's great to see you. And then College Football Express checks in with a $2 super chat. Thank you so much. I'm going to guess that's Rock and Rant, but thank you very much, Rock. You want to give him a sounder moan? There we go. It was Barzini all along.
Yeah.
In the background, all the scheming, it was Barzini all along. Godfather quote, if you don't know it, watch The Godfather. Thank you so much. Appreciate that from you, Rock. And last but not least, Daniel Gygax. And please get everyone to know to subscribe. We're about 200 subs away from 5,000. So if you're watching right now, and I know most of these comments I just read were all YouTube people, you guys got to subscribe if you're not already subscribed. To hit the subscribe button. It's free, and it really helps us up. We're trying to push 200 by the end of the summer. Push for 5,000 by the end of the summer. We want to be under 200 by the end of this show. So if you're new or if you're watching on X, jump over to our YouTube stream, College Football Mafia, and hit the subscribe button. And that's how you really get in tune with what we're doing around here. We appreciate all the X views, but subscribers is where we need to be right now. And I encourage everybody to do that. Jump over from X and join the College Football Mafia family on YouTube. All right. Thank you, Daniel. I appreciate the reminder. Okay, I have one news item that just came across my timeline. I think it's only an hour and a half old that I wanted to talk about tonight before we get into the UNC and tier maker and all that fun stuff. I'm going to bring this up right now. This popped up. This was an article, a tweet from Sam Ehrlich, and I'm going to get I'm going to get the exact link so everybody can read this. This is fascinating. I've wondered if this was even possibly something that people should pay attention to or not. Well, Sam's going to tell us. Sam says, a Texas federal court has ordered Stephen F. Austin State University to preserve the women's beach volleyball, women's bowling, women's golf, and all other women's varsity teams it was planning on cutting while a Title IX case against them proceeds. And then if we look here to see what the case is, Myers at Stephen F. Austin, order granting plaintiff's emergency motion for preliminary injunction. Defendant Stephen at Austin State University must preserve the women's beach volleyball team, and then so forth and so on. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, this is big. This is basically setting the stage for don't you dare think about cutting women's sports because football players need to get paid in the new rev share era. This is big. This is not surprising to see, but it's the first time I've seen it. So it's a bit of a smack, right? So we're going to see a lot more of this stuff with the Title IX fights. This is the beginning. What does that mean for universities? That means you're going to be paying more expenses than you had budgeted for. And so you need more money, guys. You need a lot more money. The Big 12 schools need a heck of a lot more money to operate, especially in this Title IX world where you're trying to keep sports, women's sports, not cutting non-revenue sports. This is rough.
Moen?
Yeah, I don't know. It's a preliminary injunction.
It is.
It's, it's not a solid end to this case. It's just saying don't do anything right now, but we're not saying you can't do anything in the future. The Title IX case itself is going to be the more telling ruling in this. So, but it makes you wonder. I mean, did the women's athletes already transfer out of the school? What?
Yeah,
know,
there are a bunch of those things. Yes, absolutely. And there was the DSA, the designated student athletes that were told
Right.
to hold over from the house settlement, and that was a mess. Most of those kids lost their spots wherever they went. So I don't know. This is the question that I've had in my mind. Could a lawsuit of any type stop something like this from happening? And Moen, I think your comment's probably the most real, and that is, well, this is just preliminary. They're still exploring things. This isn't a settlement, but it's like a shot across the bow to these universities and systems that want to get rid of women's sports wholesale.
Yeah, like that's a serious issue too. I mean, look, it's they're non-revenue sports. They're not going to make money for your school, and if your athletic budget's already in a negative, it's hard to justify that. How do you balance all that?
Yeah.
Look, I want all these sports to remain 100%. I want them. It's wonderful for opportunities for men and women Olympic sports. We rock at the Olympic sports, like in the Olympics. So I want to keep that and everything, right? But like, guess what, guys? The football players are getting the money. That's straight up where the money's going is to the football players, be it revenue sharing. I don't know what you do about that if you can't even afford things as is. How are you going to keep some of these sports around without cutting like revenue generating sports and saying forget sports all along? Maybe not having football and basketball just because it's too expensive to operate everything. These are the questions that are going to be asked.
Right. And we got to remember the house settlement. We all wanted to see football players get paid.
Yeah.
Well, they're getting paid now, but you have to remember a lot of that revenue that the universities were generating for their athletic departments, it was going to support sports that do not make revenue.
That's right. That's right.
Universities have more sports that do not generate revenue.
Yeah.
That do not generate revenue than actually do generate revenue. So, this is part of the problem and part of the solution too. We're paying football players now. It reduces athletic department budgets. You got a $20.5 million expense that you've suddenly added to athletic departments. Some things are going to get cut. Some of it's going to be women's sports. Some of it's going to be men's sports.
But let's be very clear. Men's sports are getting cut too.
Yes.
It's not only women's sports.
But the men's sports don't have any Title IX implications.
No,
right?
they don't.
You can cut your tennis team, your men's tennis team, but if you try to cut your women's tennis team and reduce scholarships for women, that's Title IX issues.
Well, and the judge for the house settlement walked as far away a line from Title IX and the house settlement as she possibly could. She didn't want any part of that argument or discussion. Moen, did you say something? Sorry.
I was going to say, that's interesting. I wonder if anybody could look up, has Stephen F. Austin declared they're cutting any men's sports too?
That's a good question. If somebody wants to do that research.
I believe Title IX just says, you have to have an equal number of women and men's sports.
It does.
So Stephen F. Austin is cutting men's sports. Yeah, Stephen F. Austin is cutting men's sports as well. I don't see what the issue would be. But yes, if they're just cutting women's sports, you're probably going to run into a Title IX violation.
Yeah, I whatever it is, if somebody wants to do the research on that to help us out tonight, post the link in the chat, let us know, and we'll bring it up. That's really cool. Now, Becky Go Huskies is helping us clarify a little bit.
Right.
Valuable contributor and member of the College Football Mafia family. Title IX requires the student body to dictate the sports. More women's school, more women's sports.
And Becky would know a lot about this. She was a collegiate.
Yeah, she
player.
Was. Yep.
She knows all about this stuff. So
absolutely.
Trust it.
It's great to have Becky on the team as well, on the College Football Mafia team, because she helps us stay on the rails when it comes to some of these stories we're not expert in. So thanks, Becky. It's great to see you. And let me get a few more shout outs done, and I'm going to turn the time over to Ute for his tier maker. The Almighty Finn checking in saying at Bob Swinger still stuck at work. Almighty Finn still stuck at work. Well, appreciate you. Good
Get
to
off.
see you, Finn.
Come to the show, baby.
David Sabanosh, another valuable member of the College Football Mafia family. I believe kind of new around here. Make sure you've subscribed there, David. Let's get going. I love it.
Absolutely,
Let's
David.
get going.
That's what we're doing.
Sean Ski, hello, gentlemen. Checking in, BYU football. Good to see you. Coy saying hi, all. Excellent. Friends call me Sean. Some talk that the SEC will take only 2, UNC and Clemson. If so, could the big make a big scoop for Miami, FSU, Georgia Tech, UVA? Moen?
Well, I mean, listen, we went through all the game theories, or we went through what we thought were the most 5 viable game theories, or I thought, on last Sunday's Moen After Dark.
Right.
Miami, Florida State, Georgia Tech, UVA. That is not one I had on there.
I know.
But it wouldn't shock me, but I the thing that would shock me most would be the SEC passing up a Virginia school.
Okay.
I think that he's very close here. I think that you swap out UVA and you add Notre Dame. There you go.
If you can
Big
get
10.
Notre Dame. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nathan Campbell checking in saying, can somebody please pull out the gift membership non-paid? Pull out of a gift membership non-paid. What does that mean? What's he saying there?
I think Nathan's fishing for a gifted membership. Nathan,
oh,
when people are good enough to give them, you just got to wait. So
we love having you around, Nathan.
We love having you around, Nathan. You'll get one eventually. Just gonna have to wait for someone to gift one.
Mr. Ed Weiner checking in, another OG member at this point, representing the University of Houston Cougars in the house, saying, could UNC and or Clemson joining the SEC in the next couple of years be tied to ESPN paying for the 9th game in addition to paying for 2 new members? So that would be a total of 4. Get UNC with Belichick sooner than later. That's one way to leverage something that goes over here to support something else on this side. I think if the SEC, it's very possible it's only 2 teams. They could go to 4 and just making it even 20. Yeah, I don't know. I nobody here is going to say you're wrong. What do you guys think?
I think he's got a very good feel for it. I'll tell you what, Ed Weiner, like when you look at your horse there in your icon photo, every time I'm chuckling inside. I freaking love your horse icon. Check it out. This makes plenty of sense. Like if the SEC gets 2 more schools and stuff, hey, you're adding UNC, there's juice with UNC. You go for the 9th conference game. Yeah, I mean, like it makes total logical sense. This pitch right here, like seriously, it could very much be exactly what's in play.
Very good.
Yeah,
Moen,
absolutely. I grew up watching Mr. Ed, so yes, I have to agree with the photo. As for Clemson, North Carolina, I don't know. I don't know that Clemson does a lot for the SEC.
We're gonna
they've already got the University of South Carolina. They've got Georgia and Florida. They're probably not going to be too keen on having Clemson in the conference to recruit against.
We will talk about it.
Yeah, that's great. That's a great segue.
That's a little tease, just a little tease. Add some salt and pepper to the salad. Doc Gibbs coming in with a $10 super chat that didn't have any comment on it, but we will give you a massive sounder. Do we have an NC State sounder there, Moen? ACC,
yeah, we'll put one up there for
something.
him.
Look, there's nothing in the rule book that says you can't play drunk.
Is Doc Gibbs ACC? I thought he was a Georgia fan.
I think Doc Gibbs is NC State.
I thought he was NC
Doc,
State.
please clarify, but we think you're NC
Doc,
State.
yeah, you got to clarify, man. I've got some new team sounds, but I don't think I have NC State.
Okay, can you give him a generic, like, hey, you doing, or I don't know, anything?
I did. You can't play drunk.
Let him cook.
Yeah, couldn't even hear him. Let him cook. How about that?
Let him cook.
There we go.
Let him cook now. Let him cook. I said let him cook.
Thank you so much, Doug Gibbs, for your $10, your generosity. We really appreciate you. And stick around. We're going to be talking more ACC madness here in just a second. And then the last super chat, last comment we'll do for hellos tonight is LA Horned Frog. He's a valuable member of the College Football Mafia family. $2 super chat. If Miami falls to the Big 12, would we go to 22 or 24? You answer first, and then I'll give my answer. What do you think?
So I want Miami in the Big 12 more than you'd ever imagine.
Desperate.
I just have to be right. And we all want that. I just think that there's been a lot of folks in Big 12 circles that have been throwing out just crap on that. In my mind, there's like less than 1% shot of Miami getting into the Big 12. I would love it. I want it, but I just don't think it's realistic because Big 10 is likely to come scoop up Miami, or Miami might want to try to form a best of the rest conference. So I just don't see it happening. Say it did happen. Okay. I think that the Big 12 would want to probably go to 20 to 22 teams with the Miami edition. I don't think that the Big 12 wants to go to 24 teams because when you're getting to 23, 24, you're just not adding accretive value.
Yeah. Everything you just said, I agree with it. They would be the Rolls Royce pickup for the Big 12 if they could pull it off. Miami in this descending, Miami first, Clemson second, Florida State third. If anybody was on the board, Miami is a genius pick. I'm with you. I just don't think they're going to be there at the end of the day. If you're going to an NFL draft party tonight, Miami would be your number one pick if you're a Big 12's conference. So we'll hope so. $2 super chat. Thank you so much. It was great, and it's fantastic to have LA Horned Frog in the house. Okay, to kick us off, and I picked the wrong thing, so give me 1 second. To kick us off into this next version to Ute, I am going to. There's one quote I was going to read. Give me a second. I had the wrong window up. I apologize.
While you're pulling that up, let me just get to one last super chat here.
Oh, yeah. Go. That came in. Yeah.
This is good evening from Northeast Kansas. Go
yes,
BYU
sir.
And U of U and Big 12. See, Lonnie's a Cougar, though. Right?
He is. But he also shouts out Utah. Always.
He does.
Yep.
And he lives in Kansas. I don't know what sounder to play. Should I play Utah, man?
Play Cougar.
I think he's a BYU guy.
Yeah,
but hey, you got to give him kudos for throwing out the UU and the Big 12 and stuff.
I'll play the Cougar. I won't play Utah, man.
Cougars classic, baby. That's a Cougar right there. Thank you so much, Lonnie. It's great to see you here. Okay, here's the quote from the UNC Chancellor that we're going to sort of lead off this next discussion about what signaling is UNC doing and where do we go from here with realignment for the 1,000th time. I don't know how many times we've had this discussion, but another one's not too bad. Brian Murphy. And let me get we always give credit where credit's due. Copy the link. Everybody can now go and look at it. Definitely follow Brian if you get a second. UNC Chancellor Lee Roberts, quote, delighted that the settlement was reached, talking about the ACC settlement with Florida State and Clemson. It's a good thing for the conference. We are a proud member of the ACC, a founding member of the ACC. We've been a member of the ACC since 1953, so over 70 years now. As always, we'll do what's best for Tar Heel athletics and for the university as a whole. And my last statement on this is that is the kiss of death. You get a quote like that from anybody associated with your university. It is basically like saying, I'm out the door. Here's my tagline. So that's my opinion. Ute, what do you think?
I'm just going to read this last sentence. As always, we'll do what's best for the Tar Heels athletics and for the university as a whole. I feel like I've heard this before in like the realignment world, right? Like this is the kind of thing you hear. This is that canned statement you hear before like the big fracture happens sometime over the next year.
Yes.
Right? So look, we've said it before. I've said it once already on the show. 18 months, guys, runway on this. Less than 18 months. UNC needs to be in the SEC by 2028 football season based on the financials. Broke that out before. Tell you guys, 18 months. UNC is going to be in the SEC.
Moment.
Yeah, this is Lee Roberts putting the knife directly in the front of the ACC. He is letting them know. I love all the spiel about we're so proud to be a member of the ACC. We're a founding member, 1953. Oh, by the way, we're going to do what's best for UNC,
We're leaving.
which is definitely not remaining in the ACC.
Mm-hmm.
So, he didn't have to add that part.
No.
He didn't. He could have just left it at 70 years now.
Yes.
End of statement. He went out of his way to add, as always, will do what's best for Tar Heel athletics and for the university as a whole.
The reason it sounds familiar, Ute, is we heard the same thing for the University of Colorado last.
Yeah.
Then we heard from USC. Then we heard from Oklahoma and Texas, and we're just going back year after year after year, conference after conference after conference. This is death knell of conference conversation here.
And like whenever you're citing like how long you've been in the conference for, it's always the segue right before you say, hey, we just got to do what's best. Yeah. Florida State said something crazy like that too, like when the whole legal stuff was going on. Like we've seen it all again, UNC. And that's great. That's a great step in right here to the tier maker, guys.
Let's go.
All right, here we go. All right. We're going to make a tier here based on all the information that we have, that we've gleaned, that our community has, that we've talked about over the last few years. This is just SEC realignment related. This is not Big Ten. SEC only. There are 10 schools that we're going to examine and just discuss here, okay? Some of them are very likely. Some of them are very unlikely to be in the SEC, but they're the only ones in my mind's eye as the professor saying that there's even a sniff that they could even get in the SEC one day, okay? So we've got 5 different tiers. The S tier, the top tier is the must-have. Second tier down, primary targets. Third tier, high-value fallbacks. Fourth, strategic ads. And last, the last resort, which you would never anticipate the SEC would need to go to any of the high-value fallbacks, strategic ads, or last resorts. Nevertheless, we're going to tier these schools out, okay? This is just with the SEC mind's eye. Forget the Big Ten for now. Let's just look at it. We'll say that we're on, we are making the decision for the SEC. And we're going to look at these 10 schools, okay, and put them in these different tiers. So I need your guys' help, both your guys' help. I need our community's help because we're starting out hot here, okay?
Do you want Moen to do a micro poll for each one of these?
Man, I think that some of them, yes, probably not for all of them for the sake of time.
Okay.
But I think for some of them, I think that we'll need a poll for Clemson. I think that we'll need a poll for Virginia. And Mona, why don't you throw up a poll too for Florida State? Let's start actually. Let's move the Knowles over here. Florida State, Clemson, and Virginia. Those are the polls that I would love to see a yes or no from the community. Okay. All right.
Okay. Well, we can only do one poll at a time. So which one you want to do? Florida State first?
Yeah, let's do Florida State first. Florida State first. Yeah, let's get that poll up here and let's talk about the Knowles. Okay, so the SEC and Florida State. So in theory, Florida State's part of the big swoop, as Greg Pfluger calls it. And that's where, hey, they're going to be a primary look for the SEC. They're the biggest brand. They're the crown jewel of realignment in my mind's eye. The SEC, the problem for the Knowles, though, is you already occupy the state of Florida with the Gators. Florida State seemingly has difficult relationships with multiple SEC schools. Do you want to dip in the state of Florida? Do you want to upset your current members by adding the Knowles because you're adding a brand, you're adding a massive fan base that could cause some crap in the SEC and really get stuff done there? So does Florida State provide the value for the SEC that it does, in my mind, for the Big Ten? That's the question. What tier do you guys think that Florida State is in for the SEC realignment?
Poll is active.
I'm having a hard time reading the top one.
Must have. That's like the S tier. That's like A.
I vote S tier.
S tier for Florida State. Moen, where are you at on Florida State?
I'm going to put them on primary targets.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Like for must-have. They've got the University of Florida. I think that hurts them. It means they're not a must-have. I think for the SEC, it's about the markets. It's about expanding their market, their footprint. Must-have are going to be schools that expand the footprint.
Oh, I misunderstood. You're right. It is primary target. I apologize. I was thinking that something else. I apologize.
What does the community say?
Yeah.
Do we have like an ad, yes or no, or do we have more of a nuanced?
We've got three. I put the top three options because I think they fall within the top three options.
Where are we at with the communities?
Right now we're at 22 votes. 45% think they are must-have, and primary targets and high-value fallback are split pretty evenly.
So can we sell the reason why it would be primary target or why it would
100%.
be middling?
Go ahead.
But in my opinion, the brand is fantastic. Florida State is an awesome pickup, but for the SEC, duplicated markets, I don't see that they're required ad for the SEC. I just don't see it. So I mean, if this was a Big Ten tier maker, I think we'd be having a different conversation.
Right.
But a primary target means they are ripe for the picking, right? Ute has data to show they are worth a lot in realignment. So I think primary target's perfect lane.
I 100% agree with everything you're saying. You guys, and I don't want to give away any hints and stuff. There's just not going to be too many must-haves.
Yeah, I'm thinking so. Yeah.
So the Florida State Seminoles, us three agree primary targets. The community is a little bit more on the must-have, but 3 gets us in the primary target area. So Florida State Seminoles, a primary target for the SEC.
Love it.
That seems right there.
Let's
we're moving on here.
Well, let me end the poll and we'll see what the community said. And this is going to be a close one.
What's the number?
I'm waiting for it to finish tabulating. As soon as it pops up in chat, I'll let you know. But last I saw, it was high value fallback was actually what won the poll.
What?
But it was very close. 36 to 33 to 30.
Wow.
Yeah, that's
Look
very
at that.
close. That was basically a third, and a third.
Yeah,
everybody had a
for
different
sure.
opinion on that one.
I love it.
I feel great with the primary target. That means, hey, they're in this thing, right? It's not a slam dunk, but they're in it. That's exactly what primary target would be. And I think the Noles fit right there. That makes total sense.
Yeah, they're in the hunt.
Yep. Okay, we're looking at NC State. So Doc Gibbs, we're looking at all the NC State Nation. Great fan base, passionate fan base. A dream candidate for the Big 12. Love to have NC State in the Big 12 one day. I realize they're seeing, looking for the SEC. Totally makes sense. But NC State, where do they fall? What do they need to happen to get into the SEC? And at the end, where's their tier right now, given the information we've got?
Okay, so I'm going to do the bottom 3 high value fallback strategic ads last resort because I think that's what fits.
Yes.
North Carolina State most.
I think strategic target only because it's tied to UNC. If it is tied to it, it would be a strategic ad. I don't think it would be an ad to add to the football brands in the SEC. I don't think it brings any extraordinary talent to the basketball side. So I think it's a strategic ad. That's my opinion.
What do you think, Moan?
I think it's a high value fallback, and I will explain. We're assuming that North Carolina is going to the SEC. What if that doesn't happen? What if North Carolina goes to the Big Ten? The SEC still wants to be in the state of North Carolina. The best available school for them would be North Carolina State. It would not be Duke.
Would it be Duke? You don't
it
think
would
so?
not be Duke. It would not be Duke. It would be North Carolina State. It's a much more passionate football fan base. They're rabid football fans of North Carolina State. I mean, they show up even when the team's not performing real great. They show up. So I think North Carolina State has incredible value. If for some reason North Carolina does go to the Big Ten, they're a high value fallback.
Man, I am mixed in between where you guys are, between high value and strategic ad. Like for Nate's rationale, I'm leaning more to a strategic ad though. So Moan, hey, 2 to 1.
2 to 1.
I think that they're kind of there on the bubble between these two, but I've got to say strategic ad based on in my mind's eye, the only way they get in the SEC is on the backpack of UNC.
Yeah.
Because we're going to step into this conversation right now, and Mo, and I'm shocked that you're saying this. We're going to talk about Duke. Let's talk about Duke, because I think Duke might actually get a chance at getting in the SEC if UNC goes to Big Ten.
Well, let me end this poll here, and we'll
let's see what everybody thinks.
Last resort, 62%.
Yeah, I can see that.
Strategic ad 31, high value fallback 5%. So yeah, very few people agreed with Old Moen. So
that's all right.
Yeah, last resort is what the chat said. So
all right, excellent.
Well, yeah, so it sounds like, between Moan and the community, I think we're following here in strategic ads. Bomb and I are there. So there's strategic ad amongst this think tank together. But yeah, let's talk about Duke, because this is fascinating. Don't get a lot of discussion for the SEC outside of just a pairing in basketball with UNC. But like, what's Duke's opportunity? I mean, they bring, obviously, just like NC State and UNC, you bring great new market in. Elite basketball, no football value much, but elite academics, AAU, research, a lot of things that the SEC want because they're trying to lift that academic profile. Rich school, they'd probably pay their freaking whole way in to get in the SEC, just like they would the Big Ten.
Yes.
I just feel like they're a little bit higher than NC State because of those factors.
So what's the question, Moen? What are you going to give to the community?
I'd give the same thing we did with North Carolina State. Duke, you've got the bottom 3 options: high value fallback, strategic ad, last resort. Because I don't think Duke is a primary target, and I don't think Duke is a must-have.
No,
I don't think so either on that.
Going off the rationale that Moen, you were saying a bit ago about having a school in North Carolina, just that being by itself. I actually think that could be a strategic ad. I don't think it's a high value ad, again, because we're not adding powerful football brands, and basketball brands are great. That's nice and everything, but football drives the bus, and not knocking Duke, but that's not where their history's at. So
for sure,
my personal vote is I think they're a strategic ad. Same reasoning that you were given for NC State.
I think they're a last resort.
Okay.
They really are. I don't think the SEC needs to double down in North Carolina. We were assuming UNC might go to the Big right, and I'm still assuming, and I'm still going by that assumption that UNC goes to the Big Ten. At that point, the SEC would have to take North Carolina State. Duke would end up a last resort.
Right.
And North Carolina may try to pull them with them into the Big Ten, but for the SEC, I think Duke is a last resort.
Man, that's surprising to hear that Duke would be a last resort. I'm with Nate that I kind of feel like they're a strategic ad. But Moen, like, you're the one who first was discussing that Duke would pay their full way into the Big Ten.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't they do that for the SEC?
They might. They may offer that. But again, for the SEC, I think it's a last resort thing. I think North Carolina's. I'm looking at it from the Big Ten versus the SEC. I think for the SEC, there is more value for the SEC in North Carolina State. For the Big Ten, there's more value in Duke. I think we're going to look at this from the SEC angle. I think for the SEC, Duke would be a last resort if they had to, like, if North Carolina insisted that Duke had to come along, then that would be something the SEC would do. I could understand where you get that as a strategic ad. Otherwise, I think it's last resort. I do. I believe it's last resort.
Did we put a community poll up for Duke?
We did.
And where we at?
Still running. Let me end the poll here real quick. By the way, if you're watching us on X and you want to participate in this poll, you can head on over to YouTube, sign in, give us a like and a subscribe, and then you can vote in this poll.
Get involved.
You actually don't have to give us a like and subscribe, but you can vote in the poll. At least
subscribe. If you're going to go there from X, subscribe on YouTube. You got to hit that subscribe button.
All right. Duke is, again, this is real tough. Strategic ad 39, last resort 34, high value fallback 25. I think that is the more
Interesting.
surprising thing.
Yeah.
Given that, I just think that kind of meet in the middle, within our think tank here. I mean, there's been compelling strategic ad discussions here, last resort. The community's a little higher on Duke than all of us out here. So that kind of pushes them more in the strategic ad. So I think when you're kind of weighting that all out, Duke falls there still.
Yes.
So, okay. So let's land Duke in strategic ad. Are they? Yeah. I mean, I would say we can actually organize these. I think that Moen, you actually make sense. I would say that NC State probably has more of a likely shot than getting in Duke, but it's close. So
I think they're 6s. Yeah.
It's close. We'll keep NC State like in this first position, this first horse position in the strategic ad. Duke's slightly behind.
Right.
Okay, so now's a fun one. Poke Nation sometimes brings us up and stuff. Hey, can Oklahoma State get in the SEC to bring Bedlam to the SEC? It has the brand. It has the viewership. That has football. It has the rivalry. Where does Oklahoma State, where do the Cowboys fall in this tier list for the SEC expansion?
I think Texas Tech has taken Oklahoma State's possible spot. I think if they're going to take one of those two schools, it would be Texas Tech.
Interesting, yeah.
Okay. So OSU, I think it's not a need. It would be a last. I give no weight to them getting in. Oklahoma doesn't want them in. But I think Texas Tech could bring value. So that's right, Matt. Last resort.
Yeah. Moan, last resort?
Yeah, I'm going to have to say last resort here. And I love the Oklahoma State Cowboys. I want to see Bedlam come back. I think that should come back regardless of whatever conference Oklahoma and Oklahoma State are in.
Yep.
But for Oklahoma State, I think there's a shining, penny heads up on the sidewalk here. You're Oklahoma State. You would be in the Big 12. You could dominate the Big 12.
They should.
They should dominate the Big 12.
Yeah.
So I think they're a last resort for the ACC. It's again, the ACC or the SEC needs to expand markets. They've got Oklahoma. They're not going to want Oklahoma State as well. So
for the reasons you guys have mentioned,
last resort.
I agree. Oklahoma State would be a last resort ad. As much as it would be awesome to see Bedlam in the SEC, there's just going to be a lot more schools that are going to be the priority over Oklahoma State. I actually ran a Wild Ute University expansion model with Oklahoma State in. Oklahoma State scored, I think, second to last or maybe last in that model when you're just kind of looking at all the different data points. So it's a tough ask. So I think Oklahoma State falls in that last resort.
Okay.
So, all right, we're moving on here, okay? UNC Tar Heels, baby. That's the namesake of this live show right here. UNC's causing noise. Where does UNC, where do the Tar Heels fall in the SEC's tier list? Are they a must-have, guys?
Yes.
Moen?
They're a must-have. They're the best brand available to you in North Carolina.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Not really a debate there, I don't think.
I mean, we could break out the analysis for a bit. I agree 100%. UNC, all the chatter's been about them. The reporting's been about them for months. Even Paul Feinbaum's mentioning that, right? Even that guy's saying that UNC is the number one target. All the reporters are saying that. It's the market, it's the brand, it's the basketball, it's the growth. There's a lot of reasons for it. It's contiguous. Biggest brand in the state, flagship. UNC is a must-have, and the SEC is going to get UNC. 18 months. All right, so here we go. This is where it gets really interesting for me, okay? Looking and doing the analysis on the KU Jayhawks, guys, for the SEC, okay? We're not talking about Big Ten. We're talking about the SEC. The reason that people actually had KU on the radar was our friend of the show, Greg Flugar, had a live show about a year and a half ago where he brought up Kansas and mentioned that the SEC, if it were ever to expand to a sum of about 24, that KU would be in the discussion. No guarantees or anything, but KU was on the radar in some way, shape, or form, which kind of opened a lot of eyes about the Jayhawks and the SEC. after that live show, I've thought about this time and time again. And for me, it makes a lot of sense to see KU in the SEC. It's just where do they tier up? And so, Moan, I think we should throw a poll out between KU being a strategic ad, a high-value fallback, or a primary target for the SEC. If you wouldn't mind there. Let's just talk about some of the strengths and weaknesses again. Basketball, elite basketball. It's basically like where basketball originated, KU. Big time brand, AAU status, a new market, contiguous state with Missouri, border war with the University of Missouri. There's a lot of value adds here for KU. What say you guys? Go ahead, Nate.
Yeah, go ahead, Nate.
Yeah, I mean, if we're talking about Kansas, I don't think it's a. I mean, again, I know it sounds kind of wonky, but I think high value, like so, the third one down, is kind of where I'd put them. Sort of, they're a piece of treasure that you'd have to dig for a little bit, but once you had it, you could really develop it and help it grow. And then I think Kansas would go from strength to strength, and in 10 years, who knows where they are with football and everything else. But I can see Kansas on the outside. From a Big 12 standpoint, in my opinion right now, it's Texas Tech and Kansas are the two that I would take.
Gotcha. Moan, thoughts?
I'm almost in between high-value fallback and strategic ad. It's definitely a strategic ad. There's no doubt about that. You get into Kansas, you get the flagship school in Kansas. You bring the border war rivalry into the SEC. You fold that into the SEC. My problem is they just don't seem like an SEC school. I don't see the SEC falling back and taking Kansas.
Does Oklahoma seem like an SEC school? That's what I would ask. Like, does Missouri? Like, these are the peers of Kansas.
I know.
Yeah, I don't think it's that high, but
okay, we'll go high value for fallback. We'll go high value.
No,
fallback.
I'm not telling you have to change your vote, Mo.
No. I'm just saying I was torn between those two, but I'm going to put high value fallback.
I think that they fall there, high value fallback for KU. They are not in the primary targets. They're not on the level of Florida State, but I think they're a little bit of a notch up than NC State and Duke. When it's all said and done for the SEC looking to expand. So I'm fine with that. Let's put it right there, high value fallback for KU. And now we've got 4 more schools we need to discuss, and this one should be a fascinating discussion too, because this one doesn't make as much sense to me, maybe as it could to some of you all.
All right. Do you want to hear the Kansas poll results first?
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's hear it. Please.
Yeah. Strategic 39, high value fallback 31, last resort 28. We got another one of these polls that is very, very close. It seems the chat tonight has always it on most things has been a third, and a third.
But it was definitely leaning lower. So the community thinks it's strategic ad or last resort. That might push this, guys. Is KU going to be dropping down a tier right here in first and strategic ad?
No, I still think they're high value fallback.
Man, they're right there in the bubble, huh?
I know their football program has not been very successful very often, but they have invested money in it.
Yeah, new stadium. They're definitely putting money. They want to be the next pick for the SEC or the Big Ten. They're definitely lining themselves up to be a cherry, something that you pluck off the top and say, well, if we need a 4th school, hey, look at Kansas out there, this shining light out in the plains. I just don't know if there's enough to make that work. You'd have to go to 24 teams in the Big Ten, and I think you'd have to at least go to 20 in the SEC before Kansas gets considered.
Yeah, so that's right there in the high value fallback territory. So we're good. KU. Let's talk about Clemson Tigers.
Let's go.
Okay, so Clemson Tigers, all the buzz right now in the realignment chatter is that UNC and Clemson are the 2 apples of the SEC's eye, right? That is what the chatter is. I have a hard time seeing it over Florida State, guys. Like, Please, someone tell me how Clemson is a better realignment candidate for the SEC over Florida State. I don't get it. You already are in the state of South Carolina. It's not as big as the state of Florida. Clemson's a great brand, but it's not as big as Florida State. What does Clemson get you that Florida State does not get you? That's my question. And the question here is really, is Clemson a must-have or a primary target? I guess we're falling in those two categories with this one. I just don't know why you'd make the argument they're better than Florida State.
I'd put them as equal with Florida State. I'd put them as a primary target, but I will say they do have a couple things going for them.
Okay.
We know that there's people in the SEC who've had friction with Florida State. Clemson also has a 12-year scheduling agreement with Notre Dame.
Yeah.
You can have 6 of those games on your media partner.
Yeah.
In addition, Clemson's in South Carolina and not in the state of Florida. The Florida Board of Governors move with Santa Ono, it upset people, not just in the Big Ten, but in the SEC as well. And I think that might make them, now listen, they've already got a public university in Florida. They're going to have to deal with that anyway. But I think that might hurt them a little bit when compared to Clemson.
I think Clemson is on the same tier as Florida State, but they're in front of Florida State at this point.
Like, why do you think that is, Nate?
Because Florida State comes with a lot of baggage, whether it's positive or negative. Those personalities really matter, and we've seen that in realignment. There are examples of schools or administrations that have hurt themselves. The Pac-12, hello. I mean, there are relationship type issues out there. I think Florida State between the two. If I was picking, I would pick Florida State first. But these bigger schools. Do you need a third team in the state of Florida? Do you need a second team out of Florida at all? If they can't get a second or third team in Florida, how can you justify it in South Carolina?
Right.
I just don't know that either of these schools are SEC bound.
There you go. Right.
But they are targets. They are, available, ready to go if the opportunity strikes.
So when we were breaking out the analysis last year, Nate, that's exactly what we were saying, right? Before all this recent chatter about Clemson and everything, like, why do you need a double dip in these states?
Yeah.
If you're trying to grow the footprint, try to get to contiguous, get AAU status, the research and everything, Clemson checks the brand and football boxes, but that's it. You already have the state. Like, to me, it's one of the most confusing things. But you said something that I think rings true, and like, it's relationships, right? And it might be the swing factor. It might just be relationships. It might be good relationships versus difficult relationships between Florida State and Clemson. That might be the swing factor. That's the only thing that put Clemson ahead of Florida State. The numbers, the data all support Florida State over Clemson in any situation, whether to the SEC or the Big Ten, but relationships could be the swing. And so that's got to be it.
Okay. Did we do a vote on that one, Moen, or did we just assume?
We didn't.
Don't worry about it.
I think it's pretty universal that they're a primary target.
Yeah. Are they in first position over Florida State because of relationships?
I believe so.
Okay. Can we do Miami next, Ute? Because I'm going to be having to go here in a little bit.
Yeah, we'll do Miami next too.
Thank you.
All right. So moving on to the Miami Hurricanes for the Southeastern Conference here. So, what do you think about them, Nate?
I think Miami is another one. Do you need a second or a third team in Florida? The difference is they're Southern Florida. Tallahassee is a lot closer to the University of Florida than it is to Miami. But again, do you need to double dip in a state like Florida? I could see you could justify picking them up. But I think they're Miami's Big Ten bound. They're a private school. They're AAU. They've got some longstanding relationships and administration-wise with Big Ten schools. They do research. They just fit the Big Ten so much more. So I think they're not a primary target. I would put a high-value target for Miami and leave it there.
What do you think, Mon?
Miami's the last resort. Listen, You've got
What?
2 schools in Florida to the SEC. The SEC, I think, would rather have Florida State than the University of Miami.
Maybe.
I just look. The University of
Well, Mon,
Miami.
if they had a big board today, like don't game it out. We're like, hey, A, B, and C, just like, hey, like straight up.
I think they would take Miami. Listen. I think the SEC. If I'm looking at this through the SEC's eyes, if you're going to take 2 schools in Florida, you're taking Florida and Florida State. You're not taking Florida and Miami. Miami is more of a metro school, private institution. I think it fits better into the Big Ten. I think it does not fit the SEC's idea of what they want. I think they're not taking 3 schools in Florida. So if we're going to go based off the fact that they will take 2 schools in Florida, it's Florida State and Florida. It's not Miami.
What if Florida State goes to the SEC or if the Big Ten first?
I think that Miami would go to the Big Ten with them.
So you just don't see it happen. Like
I do not see Miami in the SEC. I don't see it.
Man, that is crazy. Like I agree with that assessment, but putting them in last resort is a bit jarring. I would have put them in high value fallback behind KU. That's where I was kind of thinking, but maybe they're in a strategic ad territory.
We'll do the U. We'll do a poll on it. But I think it's last resort.
Man. So yeah, it seems like a strategic ad territory, which again for the brand value, Miami is pretty shocking. For one of the 2 main power conferences.
I think they're a fantastic ad. I just don't know if they fit the SEC mold. I mean, if they did, they could be already in the SEC. So
I think I just don't know about the last resort again. Like, I mean,
I'm not voting last resort. Moen is.
Yeah.
I
don't understand strategic ad. What is the strategy in grabbing the University of Miami?
I didn't say strategic ad. I said high value target. So.
Yeah, but
I think, man, like if Florida State's off the table, that's what I'm talking about here.
Yeah,
Florida State is off the table. Do you go after Miami or you pass? Because if you pass, then maybe they are last resort.
They're almost ambiguous over where they could end up. I just don't think they're an SEC target.
Yeah.
I think the Big Ten, when they do move, they'll pick up Miami. That's my guess. They could make a power move. The Big Ten could take Florida State and Miami.
Yeah, and that would be my assumption too. If the Big Ten take
with Clemson,
State,
you take those 3 schools. That's a huge block in the South.
Yeah, we talked about that on Sunday. The $1 billion quartet. You get Clemson, Florida State, Miami, and Notre Dame.
If you could, that
would be your best possible outcome for the Big Ten.
Dude.
That's the dream situation. Okay,
I gotta go.
That's fine.
So really quick, I'm going to take over the screen just for a second.
Okay.
I want everybody I'm going to post the link so everybody can get to this. And it is not. Oh, we have to take this one off for just a second. I'm going to read this. This is a tweet from Ross Dellinger. I'm going to post the link for it. We've been talking about this here for almost 3 years. We knew this last year was going to happen, and yet there was still confusion. So really quick, finally, they put out a notification on what's an autonomous conference, and let's settle what the Pac-12 conference is. So let me bring this bigger so we can see it. Everybody, since it is small. Ross Dellinger, I post the link to this public service announcement. There seems to be confusion. I was never confused. Ute was never confused. Moen was never confused. But there seems to be confusion on the way Pac-12 status in FBS. The league is included in House-related matters with the 4 power conferences just for the House settlement, as it was with CSC guidance, because it was named defendant in the House settlement when filed in 2020. So from start to finish, here's the statement. To clarify the permissible scope of payments to student athletes by collectives under the House settlement, Class Counsel has class counsel and the defendants provide the following joint statement. The CSC has issued new guidance consistent with this statement. The traditional purpose of many NIL collectives raising money to induce student athletes to attend or play at an institution does not satisfy the valid business purpose requirement for making NIL payments to student athletes under the House settlement. NIL payments to the student athletes may be made by associated entities and individuals, including collectives, but they must conform with the requirements set forth in the settlement. Now, the Pac-12 is part of this, everybody, okay? The Pac-12 has been part of this from the beginning. The House settlement ties in the Pac-12, but they are not a power conference. So just everybody get this in your head that at the end of the day, they're not being treated as a power conference. Now, flip the page and say, I hope the Pac-12 gets his autonomous conference back. I would love Washington State and Oregon State to be back in the fold. Is that going to happen? Is it possible? I don't know. But right here, the NIL settlements case is saying the Pac-12 is only related when it comes to the settlement itself. So do you guys have any questions about that? Any concerns before I bop out of here? We talked about this a couple of weeks ago. There was guidance and there was guidance again and third guidance. And basically they're saying it has to be for a purpose, but NIL collectives count. Thoughts?
Listen, they're not a Power 5 school, Power 5 conference anymore. The ACC may not be a Power 4 conference anymore. I understand why that is confusing people, that it's on the header, that Pac-12 is in there. That is a Pac-12 that contained Oregon, Washington, USC, UCLA, Colorado, Arizona State, Arizona, Utah. Yeah. That Pac-12 is not around anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, agreed.
All right. Well, hopefully that'll help clear up some of the gray area that's out in the world. Thanks, guys, for letting me join the show for a little bit on a Friday.
Hey.
Everybody have a great night. Have a great weekend. Be safe. If you have a stray thought about somebody that pops into your head, you haven't talked to them for a while, shoot them a text or give them a call. People are struggling out there, and they're usually doing it silently. So I want to encourage everybody to do that over the weekend at least once. And a preview for next week, we will be doing SEC preview week for the College Football Mafia family. We will have a Discord poll up for everybody to kind of put your picks in. And it should be a lot of fun. So next week's SEC week on the College Football Mafia Network. For me, Ute, Moen, thanks, guys. Appreciate it. You guys have a great weekend, okay?
Take care, Nate.
All right.
Okay.
Take
Peace.
care. By the way,
right.
Miami was the last resort by 61%.
No, they were not.
Only 23% see him as a strategic, 14% see him as a fallback. You can go ahead and add those to the last resort. I'm going to get to some super chats here, if you don't mind,
Let's do it. Yeah, let's do it.
Nate tends to forget to do these. If Miami falls to the Big 12, would we go to 22 or 24 teams?
So I believe that we reviewed this one earlier, but it's very unlikely that Miami probably falls to the Big 12. But yeah, I mean, like you want to get a Miami, the best brands in. You want to minimize spots if you're the Big 12 because you're diluting yourself if you're adding brands that are less than the current average level of the Big 12, and there's a lot out there you dilute with. So
yeah, but I mean, listen, if you're the Big 12 and you can get Miami,
yeah,
you're going to go to 20, I would imagine, and you would get Louisville, Miami, North Carolina State, Virginia Tech, and you're stopping. You've got the four most valuable potential teams right there.
It's funny that we talked about this earlier and going through this exercise. It actually shows there's only one pathway for Miami. Miami must get into the Big Ten or must start some best of the rest conference or be a part of that, or else they're going to the Big 12. So this basically analysis, this tier maker has eliminated Miami really from consideration in the SEC. This is not a realistic view. right? Miami's not getting the SEC. You just said that, Moan.
Yeah, I don't think Miami's going to the Big 12 either. So
nor do I.
Let's give him a little sounder.
All glory to the Hypnotoad.
What?
That's something TCU fans are really. It's a thing from Futurama, the Hypnotoad. I know we did that one. Becky Go Huskies says, say SEC takes 2 and Big stays at 18. Does the ACC survive?
No.
You still think teams bolt for the Big 12?
I don't know if they bolt for the Big 12, but they will be out of the ACC doing something else.
2 teams leaving, depending on when they're leaving. That's a lot of money to divide up. You might stay in the ACC for a while and get collect some of that paycheck.
Man, I think that if any schools leave the ACC, it was just like the Pac-12. Like, it's dead. It's dead. Like, it might not be said to be dead for several months.
Thank you for the super chat, Becky, and you're a Washington Husky. You'll appreciate this. Johns Hopkins to the SEC. Don't give genetics any more ammunition. Yeah, he already made me look like a fool on Twitter. God. Capo with a $5 super chat. He doesn't say anything. He's got a Mickey Mouse thing there. I don't have a mouse thing on here. So we'll give him. We're talking about money. One of these. MBM, Oklahoma State Cowboy. Oklahoma State is a A+++ tier. We are top 3 viewership in these teams with Florida State, Clemson. We have the most national titles of any other out of any of these teams. That's true, MBM, but we do have to keep in mind Florida State was a girls' typewriting school or something like that, typewriting repair school until like 1976. I don't know what Miami was, but listen, I'm not saying they're a great school. I think they're top. I think they're S tier in the Big 12.
For sure.
I think even if you add North Carolina State, Virginia Tech, Louisville, and Pitt or Syracuse, I still think they remain an S tier in the Big 12. They should be running that conference. That's just my opinion. I could be wrong.
Oklahoma State is the biggest brand in the Big 12 conference. The Big 12 conference needs Oklahoma State.
They're the biggest brand outside of Colorado right now because Colorado has Coach Prime.
Sure. Yes. They're the biggest recurring brand in the Big 12.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. And the most consistent, it seems like, over the last few. I know last season didn't work out real well for them, but over the last few years, I think they've been the most consistent program in the Big 12. Give them a little Oklahoma State song. And then finally, Ryan Willie, Big 12 fans are fooling themselves if they think they'll get more than one team in a 5+11 on a regular basis.
Ryan Willie and I agree.
Really? Now, do you agree with Ryan if I play this?
There we go.
Doesn't give you flashbacks of that Mad Dog 2020?
Hey, that was a great experience.
Did you see the video I posted on Twitter yesterday? Did you see the video I posted on Twitter yesterday?
No.
It was a cop body cam for an arrest of people smuggling 15 pounds of meth. Open container of MD 2020 was in the car.
You've got to be kidding me.
Nope. It's what first alerted them to search the car was the open container of MD 2020.
It really.
Thank you for the. Thank you for being a member for 18 months, Ryan. Much appreciated, sir.
Absolutely. We appreciate you, Ryan.
Daniel Gorby says, play the war chant. FSU is starting the ACC exodus. Well, you know what? We actually can do that. I have that. Let's see. EFG, Florida State war chant.
Yeah. Elite.
There you go, Daniel Gorby. Thanks for your super chat. You got your war chant. There you go. And I think we're caught up with super chats, so we can get right back to the tier builder here. Who do we have left? We've got the 2 Virginias left.
We got the 2 Virginias left, and we're going to start out with the Virginia Tech. So, Moan, what's your thoughts on Virginia Tech?
High value fallback.
Really?
I'm saying if you need to get into Virginia and you miss out on the University of Virginia, Virginia Tech is the high value fallback, but I don't think they're going to miss out on the University of Virginia. I do think they are tied to the University of North Carolina. So yeah, I would say high value fallback for Virginia Tech. And I would put them in front of Kansas.
No way. No, man, we are at a mad disagreement with Virginia Tech.
Okay.
Virginia Tech, to me, could be either in the strategic ad or last resort. Virginia Tech, when you're trying to boil it down, what does Virginia Tech bring to the table that the other schools on this list don't? What's the positive? What's the advantage they have over Kansas? Why would you choose Virginia Tech over Kansas?
Because it's a state of Virginia, and I think the state of Virginia is a more important market for the SEC than the state of Kansas.
So only in the case where, like Virginia, like you mentioned.
That's why I'm saying it's a high value fallback in that case. Say they don't get UVA, they still want to get into Virginia, you take Virginia Tech.
I'm looking at a different way. I'm looking at a big board, right? I'm not thinking about, hey, if this team goes there, I'm going here, right? Like,
I understand.
I'm just looking at like, hey, what's their realignment grade by themselves? And for the SEC, if I'm grading out Virginia Tech, they're not in that high value fallback category. They're a strategic ad, maybe a last resort. I don't think that they're ahead of NC State. I think that you'd have a hard time making that argument. Like, it brings football in a brand, but the viewership hasn't been great for a long time for Virginia Tech.
You're absolutely right. The viewership has been, yeah.
NC State's Virginia, the whole state, it is growing, but North Carolina's growing more. Like, basically, NC State to me is just like a tier above because it brings advantages almost in every category. NC State is better basketball. And so Virginia Tech falls pretty dang low on the list. I think Virginia Tech's a school that really isn't going to have a power two opportunity for those reasons and stuff. So for me, I'm either going strategic ad, last resort. I don't know if we pulled a poll up. If we haven't, then maybe we can meet in the middle on this one.
I've got a poll up, but you might be right. It might be strategic ad. But I mean, if you're adding Virginia Tech to strategic ad, then I think you would add Kansas to that same tier.
Yeah, we talked about Kansas before. I think Kansas could get notched down. Like, then we'd have an empty high value fallback category, likely. What do you think, Moan?
Let's see what the poll. We're going to let the poll run for another minute here, and we'll see what the poll says about Virginia Tech.
Yeah, get those votes in. I want to hear what the community has to say.
It'll probably be split 3 ways again, so and we'll get no answer.
Virginia Tech's surprising. Like, the data, if you just base it on the data, like their rankings and a lot of things, their viewership, their football brand, and everything else, it scores shockingly low on paper. Intuitively, Virginia Tech is like, hey, I remember Michael Vick. I know Enter Sandman. I know the crazy fan base and stuff. I know Frank Beamer. Like, you think, in my mind's eye, the brand's bigger than on paper it shows. It's one of like the most confusing realignment analysis you can do.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think if Virginia Tech, well, we heard earlier this week before Greg went on vacation, the money perch for Virginia Tech believes they're going to coast or draft behind Virginia into the Big Ten. I can't see that happening.
No.
Simply because I don't think, one, the Big Ten's not going to want 2 schools in Virginia. And I think the other reason is the Big Ten already gets into the DC marketplace with Maryland. I don't know why, I get it. UVA, academic institution, history out the wazoo, all that good stuff. But I don't see Virginia as a Big Ten target. I don't. So I don't see the Virginia. I don't see Virginia Tech as a standalone making it into the Big Ten either.
Virginia Tech seems destined for the Big 12.
They do, and I think it's a good fit for them.
Same. I do too. I think it's a great fit. And like the Big 12 is going to have to make this is going to be a bit jarring too. Okay. I think that they do get in the Big 12, but Virginia Tech's not a no-brainer add to the Big 12. Again, on paper, like there's a lot of better candidates that score better in a lot of different categories. I still think that the football brand gets them over the top. But you, at the end of the day, for the Big 12, we're not, this is the SEC, we're talking about Big 12. You got to make a call on Pitt or Virginia Tech. You can't bring them both.
You're taking Virginia Tech over Pitt.
I agree.
8 days a week.
I do agree with that. And so Virginia Tech probably destined for the Big 12, but probably one of the last ads for the Big 12. And it kind of just illustrates a little bit more that for the SEC, they're not going to be a priority ad, even like the money perch, as you already brought up, said that the SEC is not really an option at all. Right?
Yeah. And I mean, again, like you said, the Big 12, they're going to be one of the top 3 brands in the Big 12. In the additions, it would be Louisville, North Carolina State, Virginia Tech, and then you're going to have some questions.
Mm-hmm.
I think then you're going to have some questions. Do you take Pitt? Is Georgia Tech waiting out there for you? If Georgia Tech's waiting for you, do you take Georgia Tech? Get you a little more into the South, or do you go more to Pitt? West Virginia rival, has some, connection to the University of Cincinnati. But yeah, for me, I think if we're listing Kansas as a high-value fallback, you have to list Virginia Tech as a high-value fallback. But that's just me. Let's see what the poll says.
We'll see what the poll says.
We'll let the chat decide. Last resort.
Okay,
40,
so I'm
43%,
between,
and then strategic by 29%, and then high-value fallback by 27%.
I can't I can't put Virginia Tech over Miami.
Okay.
I just can't do it. And so Miami's got to tear up, or
no,
stick them in last resort.
Again, we've got to look at this through the SEC's eyes. If the SEC is doing, I would put Virginia Tech as a strategic ad. I would. I think
over Miami.
I know chat wants 43% want last resort, but because high value fallback and strategic are right at almost 60% together, I think you go to strategic ad. I think it hovers somewhere between strategic ad and last resort. I would put Virginia Tech in front of. I would put Virginia Tech in front of Miami in last resort. I would.
Man, like that's so. I'm with you that like naturally Virginia Tech's probably a strategic ad, but like this to me, Miami's just misplaced. Like Miami cannot be a last resort. Like I get like culturally and stuff, they're not like the greatest fit for the SEC. I don't think they end up there. But saying that NC State, Duke, and Virginia Tech have a better shot at getting in the SEC than Miami is kind of mind blowing.
Again, this is strategic. If they miss on North Carolina, they need to get in the North Carolina market. They need North Carolina State. You can make the argument for Duke. You've already made the argument for Duke. If they miss on UVA, they need to get in Virginia. They got to go for Virginia Tech. They don't have to go for Miami. If they're picking up a school in Florida,
they don't have to go for Virginia Tech. Like what? I don't know. Yeah,
but that's what I'm saying. But if they're picking up a school in Florida, they're not going to add 3 Florida schools.
No,
they're not.
I agree, 100%.
So if you're picking up a school in Florida, you're the SEC. You're taking Florida State.
Like it was.
I mean, look at the tier. Look at your tier right here. You've got primary targets. Do you think Miami is a primary target?
No.
Then you've eliminated Miami. So Miami would be a last resort.
I'm just like, you're approaching it from the idea that the Knowles, are ahead of them, right? I'm thinking about a big board creation. Like these are mutually exclusive.
Okay. Well, you can't say you can't say they're mutually exclusive because they're not. You've put high value fallbacks and strategic ads in there. When you put those two terms in there, whether you intended to or not, you have made it to where we have to look at it from that perspective.
I understand. Okay, we're gonna land here. Okay, North Carolina State and strategic ad, Duke and Virginia Tech. Do you think that Virginia Tech's ahead of Duke at this point?
Yes.
Okay. We've got one school left, and this is the Fighting Cavaliers of Virginia. So let's hear your breakdown of Virginia, then I'll give mine.
Hold on. I got to answer Mitch Blanton here. My God, Moen, weeks ago, you were all over Miami being this international TV giant. Again, you've got to understand, Mitch, we're looking at this through the SEC lens. The SEC isn't that concerned about the international market. The Big Ten, I think, is. And I think the Big Ten proved that with the fact they scheduled a football game with their top brand, one of their top brands, Michigan, in Germany. In Germany, of all places. So, again, Mitch, I'm looking at this through the SEC perspective. I've got SEC goggles on. I still think Miami's a great ad. If you asked me if this was a Big Ten tier maker, maybe we'll do that next week. I would put Miami as a must-have for the Big Ten. For the SEC, I think it's a last resort.
Holy smokes. Miami better get in the Big Ten. That's wild.
Again, if we've got Florida State as a primary target, you have to put Miami as the last resort. I just don't see any other way around it.
Mon, your staunchness on this makes me open up that possibility that Miami could be in the Big 12 if they can't get in the Big 10. It's breaking this out, if it's truly the way that you're saying it and everything, that's not so far-fetched. So it's a bit of an eye-opener.
The Big Ten's getting into Florida. The Big Ten is going to get into Florida. They're either taking one team, and if they take one, I think they favor the University of Miami over Florida State. If they decide to, they may take both of those schools.
Right.
And say, travel partners, rivals, you're both in the Big Ten. And in that situation, I think they would add Clemson. And then you're going to have number 4. And I think with Clemson joining the Big Ten, it might be enough to tip Notre Dame. Because Notre Dame is scheduling Clemson to get around potentially losing USC. Well, if Clemson's in the Big Ten fold, Notre Dame's not going to have a lot of great teams to play. They don't want to join into a scheduling agreement with the SEC. And I don't know that Notre Dame's going to lower themselves to playing Big 12 teams. I think they are better than the Big 12. I think Notre Dame thinks they're better than everybody. Notre Dame thinks they're the best there ever was. They haven't won a championship since Ronald Reagan was in office. In that time, they have gone 0-for-7 against Ohio State. And but listen, I think Notre Dame believes they're better than everyone. And I think that they would feel like they were, I don't know. I just think that they would not feel good playing in the Big 12.
Moving to the last school here in this analysis, this tier maker, which has been very eye-opening, actually. When you break it down like this, it makes you really think where pieces could fall, right? And I think that we're putting it together a pretty dang good big board on what the SEC would be doing here. This one is fascinating. It's the Virginia Cavaliers. Simone, once you do a breakout of your analysis with Virginia, then I'll do it, and we'll do the community poll last, and then rank them here.
I think Virginia's a must-have. If you're the SEC, listen.
Yeah.
If you're the SEC, you need to get into the state of Virginia. I think your preferred brand in the state of Virginia is the University of Virginia. I think that's for a couple reasons. One, it brings UNC. UNC and Virginia are very close. The quote-unquote oldest rivalry in the South. You get that bringing in North Carolina and Virginia. I think they are connected. I know that Feinbaum had mentioned it earlier this week that possibly North Carolina and Clemson. I don't agree with that. I think North Carolina and Virginia, I believe they are tied together. So for me, Virginia is a must-have. You have to get into new markets. The two best markets for you as the SEC are North Carolina and Virginia.
I think that's spot on analysis. I can't put them at the same tier that Carolina is on, but I can definitely move them up to a elite primary target, which basically puts them right in the conversation for what you've said. So Virginia is one of the fastest growing states, a ton of students coming up to college age over the next 20 years. You bring basketball, you bring elite academics, you bring a lot of money, prestige with the University of Virginia. Look, the football sucks. We can all admit that and everything else.
Yes.
But like, is that an issue for the SEC? Or is that a benefit? I mean, you can almost make that conversation like, hey, bringing Virginia in, just get pounded in football, just lifts Alabama's schedule more, right? And like just another win on Alabama's schedule. So you could look at this a lot of ways. Virginia, for me, is the mentioned. I think those are your 1 and 2 targets. Virginia, then you're looking at Eastern Conference. As far as a must.
Let me put the poll up. I'm going to put poll up.
Yeah,
I'm only going to put 2 options, guys. TAV or primary target. We're not going to do a third one. I want to, as much as, how can you not have the oldest rivalry in the South, in the Southeastern Conference? How would it make sense to have the oldest rivalry in the South in Big Ten country? Listen, I know it's a Mickey Mouse rivalry. I wouldn't put it in the top 10 rivalry games, but it is one of the oldest continuously played football rivalries in the sport of college football. So I think if you're the Southeastern Conference, you want to have the oldest rivalry in the South in your conference.
You're adding Virginia for the prestige and the population. That's what you're doing. Yes. It's contiguous with North Carolina, so getting those two as a pair seems like it's destined to happen. I agree with you. That's the 1-2. As far as a must-have, though, Moen, I got to see what the community is saying with that. I would put Virginia as the number 1 primary target and have UNC as the only must-have for the SEC. You are at the number 2 position for the must-have. I guess we're kind of talking about the same thing. The SEC is not expanding by just 1 school. It's going to be 2 at least. But that's where I'll throw them in the primary target, number 1 position. What does the community say?
We'll let them keep voting for a second, but I just want to bring something else up here.
Sure.
A lot of this is, the rivalry is not talked about a lot. No one talks about it. That's because the ACC has absolutely sucked at marketing their teams, marketing their rivalries. I think folding either North Carolina and Virginia into the Big Ten or the SEC, I think it puts a new emphasis on that rivalry. I think they educate people. You're going to see you're going to see it on the SEC network. You're going to see it on the Big Ten network. You could potentially see it on Netflix with the SEC deal with Netflix. They're going to talk about that rivalry and why it's so important to them, and it's going to get elevated. So I think that's important. I really do. So just for a general public standpoint.
Mm-hmm. All right, so where are we going?
Let me end the poll here.
I've got a suspicion it's going to be a primary target.
Yep. It's about a 60-40 vote, 59-40, 37 votes, primary target.
Look what we've made here. Moan, community, Nate. So, look, this to me, outside of Miami is the one that's just, I don't know. I feel like we've kind of misranked Miami, but you've made a compelling argument, Moan. But, look, here's what we got. So if we are making the decision for the SEC, it's pretty clear on the top candidates, right? There's actually 5 top candidates. And that's number 1. You got to go after UNC. All the smoke's there. You're going to do it. That's going to happen. UNC is going to end up in the SEC. And then what do? When you're in the primary targets area, there are 3 excellent school choices. Do you take them all? Do you take 1? Do you take 2? What order? Is it going to be Virginia, Clemson, Florida State? Is it going to be Florida State, Virginia, Clemson? I don't know. Our feel is Virginia's number one in that tier with Clemson, number two. Go ahead.
I believe Clemson and Florida State. I don't think the SEC would just take Clemson and not Florida State. I think if you're going to make the move that Clemson is such a big brand, even though you have South Carolina is a fairly small state, and you've already got the brand, the flagship brand of that state, which is the University of South Carolina. If you're going to add Clemson, you lose your excuse that we don't want to double up markets. And if that's the case, you're definitely going to double up Florida and pick up Florida State.
The high value fallback, that's KU, the only school in that category. Do you feel comfortable with that, Moan? With KU sitting right there?
I feel comfortable with Kansas there. Again, we could move North Carolina State up if we wanted to, but I'm fine with it in strategic ads as well.
I'm with you. North Carolina State is real close to Kansas. Strategic ads, North Carolina State, Virginia Tech, Duke. North Carolina State's, in my mind, the most likely out of any of those three to get into the SEC. I had a hard time seeing Virginia Tech get in. They have a hard time seemingly too, seeing themselves in the SEC. And then Duke would just have to buy their way in. It could happen, Moan. They could offer no distributions. We'll pay ourselves. And then last resort,
they could,
we're
but I mean,
here.
Again, it's a small private school. Great basketball. Football has been up and down. They do a lot of great research. They are AAU. They would appreciate them in the SEC. They would be allowed to continue to be in part of the Ivy League public library system. But I just don't. I don't see listen, the top choices in North Carolina are University of North Carolina, North Carolina State. If you're the SEC.
Yes.
If you're the Big Ten, it might be North Carolina and Duke.
Mm-hmm.
But for the SEC, I got to put North Carolina State there just in case. And I don't think they're going to miss out on, listen, there's too much smoke for there not to be fire with North Carolina going to the SEC.
Yeah.
So I think that's going to happen. So, and I think that brings Virginia into the SEC as well. After that, does the SEC stay at 18 or does the SEC say, let's go ahead, even though we have schools in these markets, let's get these huge brands, Clemson and Florida State, and fold them in. Kansas, I love Kansas. Kansas just does not stick out to me as an SEC university.
I get it, Moan, but going back to the OU and Missouri ads, those aren't SEC schools either. Is Arkansas an SEC school?
Yeah, I think Arkansas is an SEC school.
Were they? When they jumped?
I think they were when they jumped too, because it was still within the contiguous footprint. Plus, they're the Southeastern Conference.
Oklahoma does not seem like a Southeastern Conference team. Missouri sure as heck does not feel like a Southeastern Conference team. So if those two are, KU's right there. Maybe.
I just think Kansas was, to me, they're more like a Big Ten school than a SEC school. Like if they're getting into the Power 2, I think they're getting into the Big Ten over the SEC.
Yeah. Well, then, the last resort, we've got Miami for all the reasons that we've talked about, and then Oklahoma State. The last resort teams. Hey, look, if your school is on this list, these are the top 10 most likely schools to get into the SEC. Nate brought up earlier Texas Tech. I don't see it. That's why I didn't include them on. I don't care how much money they've got. Duke would buy themselves in. They'd have a better shot at getting in. You're already in the state of Texas. You've got two schools in the state of Texas.
Right.
To me, Texas Tech's not getting in.
You've got two schools in the state of Texas that are going to vehemently oppose adding a third school in Texas.
These are the 10. These are the 10 that really have any type of sniff or even look. Everybody else isn't even on the list. So they've made this list at least. And the top 4 or 5, though, with KU kind of hanging out there too, especially if Florida State happens to go to the Big Ten. It's going to get real interesting if the SEC wants to go to 20 schools. what they do if Florida State's gone. Are they going to go after KU? I don't know.
Well, and we've got here's the thing we got to remember too. Does the Wolfpack backpack get severed? Does the Cavalier souvenir get severed?
Well, if the Cavalier souvenir doesn't get severed, then you don't go either one.
Yeah,
there's not enough value there because you're probably looking at a half share for UVA anyway, getting in the SEC. It's just a no-go. North Carolina is a different story. Maybe the Wolfpack backpack.
I talked about it a couple weeks ago on Mowing After Dark. It's a captain's dilemma. You got a crew of 8. You hit something, the boat's sinking. You got a life raft with 4 seats on it. If the ACC looks like it's starting to crumble, if Miami and let's say Florida State and Miami go together to the Big Ten, that ACC starts to look real unstable. North Carolina and Virginia could go to their state governments and say, look, one of us is going to survive. We can either both go down with the ship or one of us can get off into the Power 2. What is it? Which is it? When you're presented with it in that way, life or death situation, it might be enough to convince the government to say, hey, look, sorry, North Carolina State, but North Carolina has to have at least one team in the Power 2, and it's going to be the University of North Carolina.
100%.
Sorry, Virginia Tech. Virginia has to have at least one school in the Power 2, and it's going to be the University of Virginia. That could absolutely happen, in my opinion.
Yeah, 100%. Let's get to some comments.
Absolutely. And I think next week we should do this same task with Big Ten. Do it with Big Ten schools that way.
Well, the Big Ten for sure.
Becky Go Husky says UNC is top tier. If SEC goes to 24, I can see Oklahoma State going there. Problem is, I think the SEC gets 4 pro rata shares from ESPN. So they would have to do something to bump up everybody's money. But you're right, they would have to go to 24. But I think if the SEC is going to 24, the Big Ten's going to like 28. I see the Big Ten just being a bigger conference than the SEC. If Duke was just like 25% better historically in football, they'd be the choice.
They would.
Yeah, again, it's just it's a square peg. It's a square peg, I think, for the SEC.
Mon, there are so many good comments. Holy cow.
Yep. Well,
we got a super chat too. Let's jump on.
Yep, keep starting them. OSU has double the viewership of Texas Tech. Again, I don't see Texas Tech getting into the SEC either. And again, I don't know. Like, I shouldn't say I don't know why they wouldn't. I understand why they would want to. But you guys still can be the big fish in the Big 12. Be that big fish, man. Get into the playoffs. Win a playoff game. Kirk Ferentz is 70 years old today, entering year 27 as Iowa's head football coach.
Let's go. One of the best coaches in college football.
Consistent. I mean, even a down year for Iowa is like 6-6.
Yeah.
I don't think I can. Yeah, I don't think I can remember a season where Iowa actually had a losing season. But yeah, I mean, they always special teams are locked down. Defense is always locked down. Offense, still a work in progress. I don't know if that's a Kirk Ferentz thing or what.
You think Iowa has a shot at getting in the college football playoff, Moan?
Sure. I think they do. Again, just because, like, and I understand for Big Ten, non-Big Ten people, you will not understand how scary it is to go into Kinnick Field at night. Even during the day. That third quarter wave to the children, I think.
What?
I think that actually affects universally and boosts Iowa up. And, positive thoughts. I think a lot of people see that third quarter wave. Positive thoughts flow into Iowa, and Iowa upsets a lot lot of people. Except
So
Ohio
they
State.
wave at children?
Yeah, it's a great tradition. Yeah. The hospital oversees Kinnick.
Oh.
Third quarter, both teams wave to the kids in the children's hospital, and they're
that's
all
awesome,
up there
man.
in the window, and so it's one of my favorite parts of the Big Ten traditions. It's a relatively recent tradition, but I think it's a good one. It's a fun one. It's a touching one. I enjoy it, but I think it puts a lot of positive vibrations around Iowa, and it causes upsets.
Good karma.
Thank you for the super chat, Mark. I was going to play you a sound, and then I just completely.
Give him that Hawkeye guy that we've got. The Hawkeye. What's the Hawkeye's? What's his name? His mascot. Herky.
I don't think I've got Herky the Hawkeye on here. Yeah, I don't see Herky the Hawkeye on here. I think I've got an Iowa State one, but I don't think he wants that.
Yeah, don't play that.
We can always give him a Tarleton.
Give him a Tarleton. Yeah, it's time to smoke a Tarleton too.
Let me see. Here we go.
So you cared whose ass it was and why it was farting, and I believe that time can come again.
What was that?
Great movie called Idiocracy. I wanted to. Oh, looks like I go to live. Thank you for the super chat, Mark. It is much appreciated, sir. I will get an Iowa fight song on here eventually.
Dude, I swear you had Herky, man. I swear. Maybe that's the MD 2020 night, though.
Maybe we're seeing things. Moen, it's the pink visitor locker rooms that gets Iowa over the top. That's true. It is very, and that's not even a nice looking pink. It's like an industrial rose petal, like lunchroom. Like it looks like a lunchroom tray. That's the color pink it is. Like one of those old lunchroom trays you get at like a lunchroom diner, or like that ugly pink. That probably does play a part in it too, but I still think it's the wave. I think the wave does them in. But I don't want them to stop. I do love the wave. Vox Quindaro, my homie on Twitter. KU is much more of a big member institution. I agree. I think Kansas fits much more in the Big Ten than they do in the SEC. But I don't know that they end up in either Power 2. I think they may remain in the Big 12. SEC doesn't need in Virginia to recruit there. Not for athletes, students.
Students.
You want to recruit students for your universities as well.
It's the battle for the students coming over the next 10, 20 years and stuff because of decreased population trends. Virginia is supposed to have like a top 10 population growth amongst college-age students over the next 10 to 20 years.
Right. And I heard somebody on Greg's show, I just caught the end of Greg's show. Somebody was saying that UVA's demographics or the Virginia demographics are going to slow and revert due to loss of government jobs, but it's not, people. The bureaucracy will continue to grow to support the bureaucracy. Someone said on Greg's show, said the SEC is looking at UNC, UVA, Duke, and Clemson. I don't believe that. I just don't believe that. I can't imagine them doubling up in North Carolina.
Yeah.
Why? You've got the best brand in North Carolina. Okay, Duke is going to contribute. Duke's not going to take any money. That's $100 million divided by 20 shares. That's an extra $5 million for every member and the Constitution or the conference. That does not. It doesn't make sense to me.
What's interesting about this comment, C. Curtis, is that there's like a theme that I've seen as far as like speculation, realignment wise, and it's a combo blend here of UNC, UVA, and Clemson for the SEC. Those three. And it seems like that's a pretty frequent combo right there. Like, so it's almost like you can kind of start seeing it. Like, who is that fourth team if they go to 20 schools? And that would be, in my mind's eyes, is Florida State, but Florida State could easily end up in the Big Ten. I think Florida State does go to the Big Ten with Miami. I agree with you, Moan. That's a slam dunk ad for the Big Ten. What the heck does the SEC do if Florida State is not there? That's what, like we were talking about before. If UNC, UVA, and Clemson are in the SEC, who's the fourth? I don't think it's Duke either.
I think it would be Kansas at that point. You're right. At that point, it would add a market. You would add Kansas.
Yeah, let's just look on our tier list. KU's the next in line with NC State or Virginia Tech. I mean, is it KU?
Yeah, it's KU,
guys.
Yes, it's KU. At that point, there would be nobody. Yeah, I think it'd be KU. I could be wrong. Here's the thing, Curtis, and I'm going to put this out there. A lot of people are saying a lot of things. And I have a good idea that some of them are saying them just to have their name mentioned. And trust me, Duke is one of those schools that is going out there and propagating Duke to the SEC, Duke to the Big Ten, Duke to wherever Duke can get to. And just past Sunday, Greg held a show. The Virginia Tech Money Perch says Virginia Tech believes they can get in if the Virginia goes with them to the Big Ten. Virginia Tech Money Perch is putting that out there because Virginia Tech wants that out there. So I don't know. The only one I'm counting for sure is North Carolina. And I'm pretty sure on Virginia. Anybody else, I think it's up in the air.
I agree. The UNC's number one, Virginia's number two. You put Clemson at 3. And then it gets murky. I just don't see Florida State going to the SEC.
Yeah. Absolutely. Mr. Ed, in my opinion, Big needs football brands and plant flags in Florida and South. Big should add Miami, Florida State, Clemson, and Georgia Tech or Duke. 3 football brands out there outs them equal or better than the SEC. If I'm the Big Ten, I don't disagree with this, Ed. The only thing I would change is if you get Miami, Florida State, and Clemson, you go to Notre Dame and tell Notre Dame now or never. And you get Notre Dame as number 20. And then with number 20 being Notre Dame, I think it puts you above the SEC.
100%.
I think it does. And then if you want to expand and go bigger, then you go get a Duke and a Georgia Tech. But if you can add Miami, Florida State, and Clemson and Notre Dame, the $1 billion quartet, you go add that $1 billion quartet. That gets everybody's money up. That makes Oregon and Washington full members right away.
That is the power play.
That is the ultimate power play. Absolutely. Thank you for the super chat. Ed, let's go ahead and play you a sounder.
Family entertainment, bollocks. What they want is filth. People doing things to each other with chainsaws during Tupperware parties. Babysitters being stabbed with knitting needles by gay presidential candidates. Vigilante groups strangling chickens.
What's that, Bone?
That's Little Monty Python. Mississippi doesn't need 2 teams anymore in the SEC. I don't disagree with you. I don't disagree with you, but they're not going anywhere. They're not kicking Mississippi State out.
Mississippi State and Northwestern are the 2 schools that are so lucky to be in the Power 2. Just saying.
I think Northwestern serves a lot more purposes than Mississippi State does.
Yes.
Nebraska Steve says, when will the ACC supposedly lose their premier brands? Great question. I don't have the answer. Ute seems to think within 18 months.
It's all based on UNC being in the SEC for the football year in 2028. The numbers, the payout numbers that UNC would get as a full distribution member of the SEC maximize in 2028, and then they fall off after that based on us not knowing what the next TV deal is going to look like. Makes me think, based on the figures, the financials of 2028's the season they've got to be targeting or sooner. I just don't see it sooner than the 2028 season. So 18 months is when you need to announce.
By the way, I wanted to mention, I saw an article this week that mentioned North Carolina as the Grim Reaper of the ACC.
No, you did not.
Yes, I did. That was directly compared as the Grim Reaper. So,
did they give attribution?
They did not attribute Wild Ute for the Carolina Reaper. Sorry, you.
Man.
They definitely should have. They didn't do it. Dennis Hattie says the only conferences that have doled out half shares to a new member is the Big Ten. SEC is giving out full shares to any ACC school coming in. They can contractually do that. They can contractually do that if they want to. They've got 4 full shares pro rata from ESPN. Big Ten, the only thing Big Ten can get contractually is Notre Dame adds a set amount in their contract. Everything else would have to be negotiated.
Well, just because you get pro rata for a school doesn't mean you have to pay them 100%.
Right. You don't necessarily have to pay them. But listen, you're going to pay
everybody else.
You're going to pay, the schools you want. If you want them bad enough, you're going to give them the full share. But by the same token, listen, you're going to tell me some of these schools are going to turn their nose at a Big Ten half share versus not being in the Power 2? I mean, listen, I could ask Florida State fans in the chat right now. Florida State, you can be in the Big Ten tomorrow. It's 50%. You're getting the same deal as Oregon and Washington. Do you want in? How about you, Miami fans? You want in?
Mm-hmm.
Georgia Tech fans, you want in? Duke fans, you want in? Sometimes stability costs something. D5 Terp says, I just can't see the SEC going to 24. I could see the Big doing it. Yeah, I agree.
I agree too. It might be 20 for each conference, but the SEC, I have a hard time seeing going beyond 20 teams.
Argra says, I can see the Big Ten going to 24 too. Okay. Let's see if we got a couple more here. Yes, Oregon is a prestigious university in Oregon. Yeah. Well, listen. Let
it rip.
Let it rip. Let's it's comparative. It's comparative, yes. Oregon State has a fine engineering school. Nobody can have a medical school in Oregon. That has been decided. Tempest says we'll take it. Dennis Hattie says, yes, Florida State would gladly take a half share from the Big for the next 10 years. Mitch Blanton says, no half shares.
What? If you get any offer, you take it. You take it.
Yeah, I mean, listen, you're getting into the Power 2 that,
Man.
Kansas, yeah, take the 50% Big Ten deal in a heartbeat. Vox
100%.
Pandara thinks Kansas would do it too.
Oh, yeah. Kansas would go for free, just like Utah. They pay themselves in.
Clemson has a long history with several SEC schools. And I think we're going to end it at that, guys. I want to thank everybody who came out and left comments. I apologize we didn't get to more comments tonight, and that Bomber kind of left them super chats hanging out there for a little bit. I want to thank especially College Football Express, Doc Gibbs, the LA Horned Frog, Lonnie, Becky, Go Huskies, Capo. I hope I pronounced his name right. Capo. MBM, Ryan Willie for popping that membership for 18 months. Thank you, Ryan. You're an old Badger now. Daniel Gorby, he wanted to hear the war chant. He heard the war chant. Mark Bowman left a $10 super chat. And Mark, next week, I'm going to have an Iowa Sounder on here. I assure you, sir. And Mr. Ed Wayner, and I also saw he mentioned in chat he wanted a Mr. Ed Sounder. I'm sure I can find a Wilbur out there somewhere for you. For myself, for Wild U, I want to thank everybody for joining us. Remember, before you go, hit the like button. If you're watching us on demand, leave a comment. If you're new around here, please give us a subscription on our March to 5,000. We will see you next Friday. I think next Friday, tentatively, we're going to do a Big Ten tier maker. We did it for the SEC. We'll do it next week for the Big Ten, and we'll be running polls throughout. So definitely check that out. Otherwise, I will see you guys on Sunday with my friend Rock and Rant for another Mowing After Dark. Everybody have a good weekend and stay safe out there. Peace.